Hello, and welcome to I'm Sick, Not Crazy, the podcast that helps you to take control of your own health and healing. My name is Jennifer James, and I'm a licensed and practicing psychotherapist here to talk about becoming your healthiest self, both physically and psychologically. Hello, and welcome back to I'm Sick, Not Crazy with Jennifer James, marriage family therapist. Today I want to talk about radical acceptance, accepting reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Sometimes it's hard to understand why things happen the way that they do. It's sometimes even harder to understand how people make decisions that hurt others and find ways to justify them. It's been a trying time for America. A pandemic, a quarantine, racial injustice, and civil unrest, among many other issues, have left people wondering what's next. Although I've joked with people about what terrible thing could possibly happen next, like a zombie apocalypse perhaps, the joking is mostly to cover up a lot of concern. On a more micro level, things have been happening in my workplace that directly affect me and my ability to appropriately care for my patients. Management justifies these decisions because of COVID-19, social distancing, and the financial impact of the shutdown. And while I understand that these are real concerns, I also find myself in a state of resistance against decisions that I have no control over and can't change. In conversations with friends, family, and clients, it seems to me that many people are finding this same state of resistance, confusion, and sometimes even outrage over how things are. Outrage can be a trap. It wants to be fed with more outrage. So people watch the news, check social media, and actively look for more things to be outraged about. Feeding the emotion creates an illusion that one is doing something about these problems. But it's a lie. Without some outward action, feeding the outrage is only stealing your sense of calm and well-being. There's a beautiful equation about acceptance that I would like to share with you, and this is as mathish as I get. So the equation goes, emotional pain plus acceptance equals decreased suffering, or emotional pain plus non-acceptance equals increased suffering. This is known as the radical acceptance equation, and it describes a great truth. Being in a state of non-acceptance increases the suffering of a bad situation. You may be asking yourself, what's the difference between emotional pain and suffering? I see it as a question of duration. Emotional pain is something that is simply a part of the human experience. When we have losses, we hurt. However, suffering happens when we feed the emotional pain and keep it around for longer than we have to. There are many ways to be in a state of non-acceptance. Sometimes people will cycle through different variations of non-acceptance for years after a loss. Non-acceptance includes denial, anger, fighting the truth, outrage, frustration. As we cycle through these emotions, they feed our suffering. Acceptance, on the other hand, brings a different attitude to a situation. I don't like what's happening, but I accept that it is true. Acceptance does not mean that you condone awful situations. It doesn't mean that you like it or that you're in a state of resignation and won't do anything to work on the problem. It simply means that you're facing reality as it is instead of denying or fighting against it. Coming to a state of acceptance allows you to take the next step toward working on the problem. It's impossible to make meaningful change in a situation that you haven't accepted as truth. I'm not saying this is easy. It's actually quite difficult. I've been finding myself in a state of anger and resistance quite a bit lately, and I've watched others go through their process of accepting the truth of what is happening in the world with varying levels of success. Radical acceptance is a process and a practice. It may be that you work toward accepting a situation, and then something else terrible happens, and you have to start all over. It's frustrating, but it is the place to begin. Here's an example that most of us can relate to. One day you wake up and look in the mirror and realize that you're not happy with your body. Perhaps you've indulged a bit too much lately with your food. Okay, now you have a choice. You can deny that your body has reached a place where you need to make changes and continue on the path that you're already on. But how does that help you? That just leads to more discomfort with your body. It's only through accepting the fact that your body has gotten to an uncomfortable weight that you can make a choice to begin a diet or an exercise program, or both. I'm sure that you've already started thinking of situations in your life that you might apply radical acceptance to. That's great. Try it out and see how it shifts things for you. I know that coming to a place of acceptance always eases the pain and frustration in my own heart and opens me up to take positive actions for change. I'm sure it can do the same for you. For more information, I would recommend the book Radical Acceptance: Embracing Your Life with the Heart of a Buddha by Tara Brach, PhD. And there are also wonderful radical acceptance resources like some meditation on Tara Brach's page, which is www.tarabrach.com. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's I'm Sick Not Crazy podcast with myself, Jennifer James, MFT. Please remember that this podcast is educational in nature and that it's not intended to substitute for medical or psychological advice. To learn more about my work, to share podcast topic ideas, or to book me for speaking engagements or interviews, please visit my website at jenniferjames-author.com and choose the contact link. If you would like to support my work financially, you can find me at patreon.com/JenniferJamesMFT. Thank you, and remember that you can take control of your own health.